Good evening, everyone. My name is Mary Gatto. I'm the president of the Court of Common Council, City of Hartford. I want to call to order this regular meeting of Tuesday, October 13th. Order. Mr. Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Councilwoman Bermudez. Councilwoman Bermudez. Councilman Clark. Councilman Clark.
Present.
Councilman Gale.
Here.
Councilman LeBron.
Here.
Councilman Mitchum.
Here.
Councilwoman Rosado.
Present?
Councilwoman Rossetti.
Here.
Councilman Sanchez.
Present.
Councilwoman Surgeon.
Here.
Councilwoman Bermudez. You have a quorum.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. And now, Mr. Clerk, could you please lead us into the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag, United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Mr. Majority Leader, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. Through you, I'd like to make the motion that we place the following items on the consent calendar. Item number 4, with a replacement, Health and Human Services Committee with a company resolution authorizing the city to accept a grant of $65,000 in funding for the City of Hartford Department of Health and Human Services Dollar Ride Program from the North Central Area Agency on Aging. Item number 6 on September 28th agenda. Item number 5 with the replacement, Health and Human Services Committee with accompanying resolution authorizing the city to accept a grant of $31,500 in Title III-D funding for the City of Hartford Department of Health and Human Services Keep Living Program, North Central Area Agency on Aging. Item number 5 on September 28th agenda. Item number 6 with a replacement, Health and Human Services Committee with accompanying resolution authorizing the city to accept a grant of $60,000 in funding for the City of Hartford Department of Health and Human Services Heart and Home Health Program in the North Central Area Agency of Aging. Item number 2 on September 28th agenda.
Second the motion.
A motion has been made and properly second. I just want to acknowledge, Mr. Clerk, that Councilwoman Wildelise Bermudez has joined us. A motion has been made and properly second. Are there any discussions? Any discussions? Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilwoman Bermudez. Councilwoman Bermudez. Councilman Clark.
Yes.
Councilman Gale.
Yes.
Councilman LeBron.
Yes.
Councilman Mitchum.
Yes.
Councilwoman Rosado.
Yes.
Councilwoman Rossetti.
Yes.
Councilman Sanchez.
Yes.
Councilwoman Surgeon.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Mr. Majority Leader, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. I would like to make a motion that we receive item number 7, which is the Health and Human Services Committee report that has an accompanying resolution, an update of $1.4 million designation for the fight against COVID-19.
I second the motion.
Motion has been made and properly second. Are there any discussions? Any discussions? Mr. Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Councilwoman Bermudez.
Yes.
Councilman Clark.
Yes.
Councilman Gale.
Yes.
Councilman LeBron.
Yes.
Councilman Mitchum.
Yes.
Councilwoman Rosado.
Yes.
Councilwoman Rossetti. Councilwoman Rossetti.
Yes.
Councilman Sanchez.
Yes.
Councilwoman Surgeon.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Mr. Majority Leader, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. Through you, I'd like to make the motion that we refer the following items. Item number one to the Quality of Life and Public Safety Committee, which is Mayor Bronin with a company resolution to accept a 2020 COPS grant from the U.S. Department of Justice in the amount of $2,391,351 over a 3-year period. Item number 2 to the Operations Management Government Budget and Government Accountability Committee, which is Mayor Bronin with a company resolution for the procurement of mailing, folding, and inserting equipment through our current vendor, Pitney Bowes, and will save the city an estimated $11,601.16 over 5 years. Item number 3 to the Planning, Economic Development, and Housing Committee, which is Mayor Bronin with accompanying resolution allowing the conveyance of an easement in the South Branch Park River corridor for the purpose of maintaining an existing multi-use path and construction on extension to this multi-use path, which also has a hearing date of October 19th, 2020.
I second the motion.
Motion has been made and properly second. Are there any discussions? Any discussions? Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Council President, I had my hand up.
I can only see Councilwoman, your name on the screen.
Oh, it's not sharing the video?
No, it's not.
Oh,
It's
that's
just
so weird.
WB.
I don't know why, what's going on.
You may go ahead.
Okay, so my apologies then. I'm having technical difficulties on the video side of things.
Okay.
So in terms of discussion, I wanted to add item number 11, and 11 is a resolution that is currently at the Operations Management and Budget Committee. I wanted to add it to, well, item number 11 on this agenda is being considered up for action, and I would like for our council colleagues to explore to have it to be up, transferred over to the Operations Management and Budget Committee, because that resolution had already been sent to that committee. And so item number 11 is an amendment, and the amendment adds a specific resolve that was considered by Councilman Shirley Surgeon. And so I would like to make a motion to add number 11 to be considered.
So a motion is on the floor to add item 11. Postpone agenda. Do I have a second?
Second.
Are there any discussions? Any more discussions?
Item 11. I'm sorry, I didn't. It was a lot of garble. I couldn't hear her. Where we sending item 11?
Item 11 is up for action on the council agenda. Councilwoman has just made a motion that we move it from the action to postponement and discuss it in committee.
So what committee is it? What committee is it going to?
Operations Management and Budget.
Okay.
From BGA.
Thank you.
Councilman LeBron?
Yeah, just for discussion. So, Councilwoman Bermudez, you stated that this resolution is already in OMB and that you wrote this next one with edits. And so wouldn't that be two of the same thing? Why wouldn't we just change the one that's currently in committee and work on that while it's already there? Maybe I'm misunderstanding. Can you please clarify?
Yeah, so yes, I appreciate your question. So it should have said amendment on the top of the resolution. I'm not sure why it didn't amendment.
Councilwoman, you're breaking up through the call. I don't know if you can move around to see if you can get a better reception, but you're breaking up. So it's very hard to understand you. Councilwoman Bermudez?
Yeah. Can you
Okay,
hear
now we
me
can see you.
now?
Now we can see you. Go ahead.
Okay. All right. Sorry. I had experiencing, as I mentioned earlier, technical difficulties. So I tried to log in through my regular laptop, but that did not work.
And you're still
So now I'm trying the phone.
through your
So,
laptop.
but you could hear me, right?
Yes, we can hear you and see you.
Okay. All right. Okay. So, okay. I think that may have solved the problem. All right. So, yeah. So, I appreciate the question, Councilman LeBron, in reference to why is it that the item is being seen twice? And it should have said amendment. Item number 11, resolution number 11 should have said amendment, and it should have been labeled as amendment, because technically the resolution has already been submitted to council. The only thing is that we are adding an additional resolve so that if there is testimony, let's say testimony that's provided by a group when an ordinance is being sent to public hearing, that testimony be reflected as well as part of when people are searching for that ordinance when it passes, that people have access to that. And it's something that was discussed at the Operations and Management Budget Committee. And so this resolution is an amendment to add that specific resolve.
Councilman Gale?
Thanks, Madam Chair. I share Councilman LeBron's questioning of the procedural aspect of all of this, but that said, I'm happy to send it back to OMB. And if there's two of these at OMB, so be it. We can put it together at that point, make a decision, and send it back to council. So I think it's probably a good idea. Thank you.
Thank you. So are there any other discussions on this item? Councilman Mixtum? You're on mute.
Yeah, I was getting there. Thank you. No, I would second what Councilman Gale said. I mean, ultimately, if we lose nothing by sending it back to the committee, and if there's confusion, if there's duplication, we sort it out. And if what it is that in fact we can save something and move forward on it by bringing it up to date, no harm at all and possible gain. So I would just say that in support of sending the thing over.
Absolutely. Okay, so Mr. Clerk, could you please call the roll on Councilwoman Bermudez's motion?
Okay, Councilwoman Bermudez. Councilwoman Bermudez.
Yes.
Councilman Clark.
Yes.
Councilman Clark.
Yes.
Councilman Gale.
Yes.
Councilman LeBron.
Yes.
Councilman Misham.
Yes.
Councilwoman Rosado.
Yes.
Councilwoman Rossetti.
Yes.
Councilman Sanchez.
Yes.
Councilwoman Surgeon.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. And now we're back to our original motion, which is both phone items included now via the previous motion, item 11 to that. Mr. Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Councilwoman Bermudez. Councilwoman Bermudez.
Yes.
Councilman Clark.
Yes.
Councilman Gale.
Yes.
Councilman LeBron.
Yes.
Councilman Misham.
Yes.
Councilwoman Rosado.
Yes.
Councilwoman Rossetti.
Yes.
Councilman Sanchez.
Yes.
Councilwoman Surgeon.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Mr. Majority Leader, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. Through you, I'd like to make the motion that we postpone the following items. Item number 8, which is the ordinance amending Chapter 2, appointments of department head requirements, Section 850, residency requirements of the municipal code. Item number 9, ordinance amending Article 5, Division 5, Section 2-196 of the Hartford Municipal Code, which has a hearing date of October 19th, 2020 at 7 p.m. Item number 10, which is a substitute ordinance amending Chapters 2, Article 18, Section 2-860, motor vehicle policy of the Hartford Municipal Code.
Second.
Second.
The motion has been made and properly second. Are there any discussions? Any discussions? Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilwoman Bermudez,
Yes.
Councilman Clark,
Yes.
Councilman Gale,
Yes.
Councilman LeBron,
Yes.
Councilman Mitchum,
Yes.
Councilwoman Rosado,
Yes.
Councilwoman Rossetti,
Yes.
Councilman Sanchez,
Yes.
Councilwoman Surgeon.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Mr. Majority Leader, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. Through you, I'd like to make the motion that we place the following item on action. Item number 12, which is resolution requesting changes to section 8 of the council rules and section 6 of the council.
Second the motion.
The motion has been made and properly second. Are there any discussions? Councilman Mixton.
Thank you, Madam President. It's I wrote the thing, so I may as well explain it and open it up for questions. Basically, we go more or less by Robert's Rules of Order, which I'm more or less familiar with. But I was curious after last week not getting to debate something very much at all, not even for but a minute before the question was called. I was curious how this calling the question works and where it came from. I looked it up and I read about it. And it roots back to the 16th century in England. And basically it was because they would get together in their parliament and they would go and go and go all night. And it would never stop. And people would just talk and talk and talk like the way it seems I'm doing now, but times 1,000. And so they created this rule that at some point, 2/3 of the body could say, enough is enough. And then I looked at our rules, and our rules say that any member can debate any question for up to 6 minutes. That's what we get, 6 minutes on any question already without calling the question. So the maximum on any question is 6 minutes per member and a 2-minute rebuttal per member. So really the most we could get up to is a hair over an hour per question. And it seems to me that given that, we don't really need to ever call the question before the 6 minutes is up, right? The people of Hartford expect some deliberation. They want some transparency. They want to see us weighing the issues and explaining ourselves. I think 6 minutes apiece is a very modest thing to give them. And that's sort of the heart of this change that I'm proposing, is that you can't call the question till the person has had their 6 minutes. That's the key. And then the other part is that if a person raises their hand, since we're all on Zoom now, or if it's WebEx, whatever, or if they otherwise signal that they want to speak, the order that they signaled should be the order that they speak. Again, a very straightforward proposition that I would imagine isn't too controversial and shouldn't bog us down. And it just makes sure that the people get to hear from all of their representatives on all of the issues that matter. So with that, I think I'm still under my 6 minutes, and I would ask if any of you have questions.
You're on mute, Madam Chair.
Councilman Gale, I
from System
apologize.
UI server.
Oh, okay.
There's our robot overlords.
Okay. Just quickly, having been on this council now for 5 years, I have never yet seen us enforce the 6-minute rule. So I think that's a rule that's just observed in the breach. We don't do that. Everybody gets a chance to speak, and generally people have been allowed to speak for as long as they wanted. However, there are times when nobody's adding something new to the conversation. And when those times exist, we have Robert's rules that gives us this ability to call the question. So I have to say, Councilman Mixton, I appreciate maybe where you're coming from, but I'm not going to support this. I have been involved in listening to people who pontificate and people who are preaching to some other audience and really aren't adding to the conversation. And if those opportunities present themselves and the body wishes at that point to just simply move forward, I think that's the body's right to do so, and the motion to do that is calling the question. And so I stand in favor of it, even if all 9 council people haven't had a chance to speak on any particular matter.
Thank you, Councilman Gale. And I too express the same sentiments as Councilman Gale. Councilman Mixtum?
Thank you. I want to be clear that I'm certainly not, this proposal doesn't ask to get rid of calling the question, right? I want to be clear on that this proposal only says, and I also know that we've often gone over our 6 minutes without objection, and I don't mean to suggest that we should suddenly enforce the 6 minutes every time. What I'm saying is that given that we already have this 6 minute limit, it seems like to allow everyone 6 minutes, if they want the full 6 minutes, is not asking very much. And while Councilman Gale, you say that you've never seen someone be cut off before they had something to say, I have seen it in my short time here because it happened to me last week, and I was not pontificating. I scarcely got to say anything before someone who had not raised his hand called the question, and the president granted that question. So what I'm asking for is the bare minimum of openness so that everyone can make their arguments. And so that in that case, I was actually asking my colleagues to explain something that they were doing. That was all I was looking for. And I didn't get even that much. And all I'm looking for this time is that bare minimum, 6 minutes, after which we can call the question and shut me up. Other questions?
Duly noted, Councilman Mixtum. Are there any Councilwoman Bermudez?
Yeah, so I would be curious to hear from other council members to figure out why they would be against this before they vote on it, if they are going to be against it.
There are no further comments. Councilman Mixtum.
Thank you. Just to add to that, I think I see no one stepping up to explain where they stand, but it did not go to committee as we usually do. We send these sorts of things to committee so that they can be explored in more detail. It seems to me that this might be another one where if people are uncertain and they have nothing to say, maybe this is a good one for committee. So I guess hearing nothing one way or the other, I would move that it be moved over to the referral list, or rather that it just be referred to OMBGA.
Second.
Motion has been made and properly second. Are there any discussions? Any discussions? Mr. Clerk, could you please call the roll on Councilman Mixtum's motion?
Councilwoman Bermudez.
Yes.
Councilman Clark.
No.
Councilman Gale.
And just so I'm clear, we're voting on whether to refer it to committee at this point.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll vote no.
Councilman LeBron.
Yes.
Councilman Mitchell.
Yes.
Councilwoman Rosado.
No.
Councilwoman Rossetti.
No.
Councilman Sanchez.
No.
Councilwoman Surgeon.
No.
Motion failed.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. And now we're back to our regular motion. Mr. Clerk, call the roll.
Councilwoman Bermudez.
Yes.
Councilman Clark.
No.
Councilman Gale.
No.
Councilman LeBron.
No.
Councilman Mitchell.
Yes.
Councilwoman Rosado.
No.
Councilwoman Rossetti.
No.
Councilman Sanchez.
No.
Councilwoman Surgeon.
No.
Motion failed.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. That concludes our meeting this evening. I want to thank everyone from the public who participated, my council colleagues. Everyone, please stay safe and good night.